Hello, greetings. This is Gilles Mancier. I wanted to come briefly today to wish you a wonderful day and to wish a happy birthday to all the Aquarius, for we are moving in the Aquarian season, for we are moving into the age of Aquarius, so it is a very important, significant understanding for this energy of Aquarius. We are moving into a full lunar eclipse, which is also super moon, and a full moon and a blue moon. There's two moons in the month. Super moon, which is very close to the Earth, and then there is this lunar eclipse. And there's also the South Node that is also in Aquarius. So those lunar eclipses are all mostly about ending cycles. They can affect us up to 6 months after the actual transit. And then this North Node in Leo is forcing us to see what is our self-interest, and the North Node in Leo forces us to look at what is really what we need for ourselves, when the South Node is showing us what is the collective need and interest for those two needs, and do not have to be in challenge with one another, but our self-interest has to be connected to at some level to the collective interest as well. But it is important to know what is exactly we need, what will make us whole, what is it that we are seeking. Even if we don't know what we are seeking, we may ask the universe to make us whole, to make us complete, to make us free, to bring the light into our life more and more each and every day. For that, we need to understand the world of energy, and those energy, in the world of energy, we do not always know how to differentiate between what is mine, what is someone else, and what is common to all of us. So it will come, the understanding, a lot of things that pass through our head does not belong to us, they're just floating thoughts that we pick up, and so it is important to learn to differentiate. Right now we still have this Capricorn shared value community. It's about understanding what this Saturn in Capricorn is. We have to understand, to anchor our own need, what we really need to in many sense to satisfy the need of the community of the whole. For once we are completely free in the security of love internally, we are able to bring that into our collective, and to create the security of love creates freedom. But for that we need to create the condition where we can feel secure to love, to accept the love internally. For love is something wonderful. We can gain security from love of someone else, like in family relationships, so to speak, or friendship, or lovers, or whatever. But even then, we cannot depend 100% on that love to free ourselves. For the inner love is the only thing that can free ourselves. This inner love that we are able to share with those that we love. But in a sense, because otherwise it becomes a codependency, and if something goes wrong with one relationship, we can be completely lost within the program, because we have disconnected from the source of love within our heart. In many sense, we are becoming one. Becoming one means letting go of love and fear, to let go of all things, to go move into trust in the unity. And in order to do that, we have to understand that we have to let go of our desire to analyze all emotion, to analyze our own life, to analyze our process, although it is a bit paradoxical, because the mental, once we get into a more elevated state of consciousness and we see the difference between the matter and spirit, the mental becomes the bridge, the mediator between the spiritual realm above and the physical world below. So it is part of the wisdom of thought, and the Atlantean is kind of shared this wisdom with us, and I am called to speak on his behalf, so to speak. And so it is important, these two things I can add on in that relation, is that to always allow yourself, your heart to overflow, to let your heart be overflowing with love and joy, to let people feel this love. There is no need to condition, although sometimes we have to calibrate our energies in order to not to overwhelm, but never try to exalt your heart over someone else. This idea of like, you are superior to anyone else because you have attained anything, is completely a waste of energy. For the more humble you are, the more you will be able to because when we are humble, we place ourselves below others, and so when we place ourselves below a situation, below something, below someone, we support it. This is how God takes possession of all. He places himself below everything and he supports all. So humility is very important. And so not to allow yourself to feel that you are in any way different than anyone else. Although we are all unique and special and divine, our own way is no more important than anyone else's way, for there is only one way. And so it is something very difficult to move from a dualized world of separation to a world of unity. It takes a while to get acclimated to this understanding, and it's a new mental process. We have to understand that light is order and darkness is disorder, for we live in a relative darkness, relative light, a world of relative understanding. So there is a lot of disorder, but then as we move into the light, we set ourselves free. So what is light is the divine order, the world of the flame, the sacred path of order, and where all things are within alignment. So, in a sense, to know yourself. Once you know yourself, you know the whole universe. You know God. For if you do not know God, you don't know the universe. You do not know yourself. For at the end, we're trying to realize that it is all one and the same. And it is one of the things that a lot of philosophers kind of stumbled upon. For when we move into wisdom, we have at some point to analyze. I'm not an expert in the philology of the classical or modern letters, modern literature, but in a sense, philosophy is the empire of the reasoning, the empire of reason, so those things that we can agree with. But there is in many ways you have to contradict certain philosophers in order to advance. For you cannot take the whole thing at face value. For most of the time, third-dimensional consciousness has to address in philosophy science, environment, life, society, thoughts, all kinds of things. But philosophy continues to be necessary in fifth dimension and even beyond. I mentioned the French video, like on Paradise, the philosophers of Paradise, they know everything about time and space. They know where it's coming from, where it is, and where it is going. They have a really good idea of all the future eternal development of outer space in the transcendental universe of the future. But their philosophy has to come into play when it is about speculating of what will be the after phase of the master universe. For there is really only the God knows, even on Paradise, and they don't talk about those things. So there will be mysteries that will be unfolding through the eternal development of the whole cosmic plan. And so it is important to always try to think for yourself, not to question authority if necessary. There is one great philosopher that was really into questioning every other philosopher. He was Friedrich Nietzsche. I really love to hear him. He's very wonderful. He goes from sublime to ridicule to grandiose to mediocre to he passed by every stage, and some of the things he says are completely nonsense. And there are some things are sublime and they've never been said before. And so it is like a buffet, It's like each philosopher has his own little restaurants, and you pick what you need in whatever form. But it's not because someone likes this particular thing that if you don't like it, don't take it. Take something else. Take something you like, and let everybody eat whatever they want. And so there is a lot of. So Nietzsche was an expert in criticizing all the philosophers. He was a very, very well researched person. But even in Plato, I love Plato. He's one of my favorite philosophers. But I have to criticize. If I was to contradict or criticize the sense of art in society. Of course, at this time, art was a different function that it has now, and also the ability of using humor as a liberating force. For Plato, did not have much of a sense of humor. He was actually never seen to even laugh. Never cried, never laughed. He was always platonic, which could be a very stable, enjoyable kind of state of being. But I do practice and enjoy humor. I think it's one of the most liberating force of sensation. And Spinoza also was a philosopher that wanted to find joy, but joy in the sense of grace, divine grace. It's not joy about we're going to laugh about it. Although joy can be motivated by laughter, by humor, it can be created in many forms. But in Spinoza, what I need to there is one thing that I need to. He's a wonderful, wonderful philosopher that revealed marvelous things. He was way ahead of his time. But there was one thing that he said: God will always be God, man will always be man. Man can never be God, and God can never be man. And it's because he did not know himself. He does not know who is God, and so in many sense he creates this separation, which makes it more comfortable for him to develop his geometry. But in many sense, God has give everything that God is has give. has given it to us in potential. So there is no real separation, it's only in the mind. For God has always been here, He will always be here. It's the silent partner within all life. In philosophy, we're trying to find what is the good life for man, what is so it's a matter of balancing between pleasure and virtue, between saying yes and controlling this lower aspect, lower form. But in many sense, we are looking for what is agreeable to us and what works for us. For something that is agreeable to us may be disagreeable to someone else, and something that works for us may not work for everybody. So it is important to let people do whatever they do. Do not criticize people. We all live under one rule: do no harm. It's the golden rule. But as long as you do no harm, you have the right and freedom to think, to do, to create, to experience anything that you can think. It is your God-given gift to experience life. Eventually we move into a higher aspiration where we associate this idea of self-fulfillment to the highest good of all. For we realize our own self-fulfillment will help and increase the spiritual energy of the collective we are associated to. So the understanding that the ego is unreal, but we all have it's a residual self-image, what we think we are, and we had to create this identity in order to operate and function within this dualistic society. But in truth, we are souls, and we have this God self within ourselves, and every human being possesses the totality of God within themselves. Once you realize that, you are able to communicate on a superconscious level beyond the level of consciousness of the human beings you communicate to. In other words, pay attention to the signs. The signs are very important. All the signs are real. When you receive a sign and you feel it is a sign for me, yes, it is. It is always there. And those signs are specially for you. Nobody else gets those signs, especially for you. It is a proof. It is subtle. It is not like a great hippopotamus in the sky. But all those things will eventually come. Hippopotamus or anything you can imagine in the sky, but in many sense, so this presence is always there. It is just it is a subtle energy that we need to work with. For most of the philosophical problem, like I said, I'm not an expert in philology. I'm just, it's a new passion I discovered, rereading the old ancient philosophers and the newer one as well. I see most of the problem of the philosophers is they are great. They limited God in a way that. And God is unlimited, so they attribute limitation to nature, to divine purpose or potential, because they are unable to see beyond their own construct. For on earth, we have this gift of free thinking, free doing. Whatever we believe creates our reality, and so in many sense, it is a place of great experimentation, because whatever we think, we have the freedom to think many things, but our thoughts are not necessarily organized in a way that is very structured and controlled, and therefore, if we were to manifest all those things, we could create nightmares for ourselves. That is why once we ascend into a higher frequency, everything we think becomes. So we have to first, before we are allowed to move into those higher planes of total determination in relationship to what is desired, to manifest things from the ether, we have to have a very strong level of focal concentration, focal points, in order to keep this energy to not be distracted by shadows and things that would create great problems if they were to manifest in the physical world. So yeah, I wanted to finish by saying that everything has value. There is value in every living being. As gentlemen, how dark they are, how stupid they are evil they may appear to be, there is value in all things. The thing is, what has value for me? What does it mean to me? What is my relationship to it, or to her, to him, to all those things? So it is important to understand the priority, to understand how all those things the universe was created with infinite diversity, but you cannot choose infinite diversity in this plane and dimension. You have to always make a choice. the choice you make determine the next experience, and so it is important to prioritize and to sense that whatever you feel the deepest within your heart is really what has the most connection and potential for you. Well, I hope this message was interesting. I hope you will find things that you will be able to use during this period. The card for the day is commencement. It is truly the beginning of the beginning. It is really it is Jupiter. We have the ram. We have this great dynamism of new beginning that is really starting now, and with this eclipse we will be moving into something probably new and exciting. Well, I'm going to finish with a little song. It's the first song I ever sang on the internet. I had a little sore throat, but I'm going to try to sing it anyway. It's a really beautiful song. It's by Leonard Cohen. It's called Hallelujah. Heard there was a sacred chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourths, the fifths, the minor fall and the major lift, the baffled king composing Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Well, your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to a kitchen chair, she broke your throne and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Oh baby, I've been here before. I've seen this room and I walked this floor. I used to live alone before I knew you. And I've seen your flag on the marble arch, and love is not some victory march. It's a cold and it's a broken Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. There was a time when you let me know what's really going on below, but now you'd never show it to me, do you? And remember when I moved in you, and the holy dove was moving too, and every breath we drew was Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Maybe there's a God above, but all I've ever learned from love was how to shoot somebody who outdrew you. And it's not a cry that you hear at night, it's not somebody who's seen the light, it's a cold and it's a broken Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Well, thank you very much. I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you for sharing, for communicating, for liking, for subscribing. If you like those kind of messages, I will continue to communicate and soon set up a new present new ideas and new platform. There will be new potential for participation all around the world. There's going to be new. The new is going to come to the picture, and so be ready. And I wish you a wonderful time and a wonderful eclipse, passing through this eclipse, so that we can get into February with great enthusiasm and joy and excitement. Thank you very much. Namaste.